possible. So, all right. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Michele Ray. And Michele is the founder of the Center Within, and she's the author of a book titled Living from the Center Within, Co-Creating Who You Are Becoming. She specializes in working with people and organizations to align their authentic, empowered center within. So while working with Michele, clients become more confident and engaged as they enhance their gifts, talents, and wisdom and passions. They also gain clarity and power as they expose and unblock limiting beliefs, stuck patterns, and fears. Stuff that I love to get rid of. So during the individual session, Michele will use her abilities, her deep listening, her intuition, her appreciative inquiry, and spiritual practices to help clients implement the changes that they desire in their lives. So please help me welcome back Michele Ray.
Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome. Clap with the microphone.
Yeah. Ella was sharing with me that it's been a long weekend, and so I really appreciate the extra effort to be with us today. Great to see all of you. Lovely to be here in person with you today. This will be an interactive kind of conversation. I am delighted, honored, and feel very welcomed in this community to facilitate the conversation today. But we'll have some time where you'll be able to get up and chat with another person about intentions as we go through our day. And if those of you listening at a later time to the recording, we'll invite you to do a little bit of reflection as we go. We're going to talk about living intentionally is the theme for the whole month. Welcome to May 1st already. Happy May Day, everybody. And we're going to kind of touch on all three of these areas. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about your personal intention. What does that look like for you? What areas of your life are you wanting to give some intention and attention and awareness to? And how about our relationships, our interpersonal relationships, whether they're family members, neighbors, coworkers, partners, where are we with that? And what are some tools that we can embody, we can practice to enhance those relationships? And then collectively means as in community. And I really appreciated, Ella, you were so eloquent with the mission of this community. It's to, remove some of those barriers, become aware of them and set them down. Not only that we can live an authentic, empowered life, but that our relationships, and it ripples out to our community, our neighbors. And I believe we're amidst a time in human history where we're under a massive evolutionary shift. And so our intentions that follow our thoughts and our behaviors, right, impact the collective through the quantum field tremendously. So it is that old adage that self-care and working on ourselves is selfish. We now actually have scientific evidence in the quantum field that it is the exact opposite. It's probably the biggest service we can offer, is to resonate at a high frequency. So even though we'll talk about them today as different categories, in my worldview, it's a holographic universe we're living in, and it's really all one and the same. So let's get started with a body scan, just to get ourselves here. We'll do a little practice, a little spiritual practice while we're here. So I'm just going to invite you to bring all of your attention into the present moment. And so for me, I like to start with a breath and resting my attention on my breath. Bring your awareness fully into this present moment, just noticing your breath in and out. And as you settle your awareness fully into this present moment, notice your body, this amazing, miraculous, interconnected systems of a lymph system and our vascular system and our nervous system and our digestive system, our skeletal system, right? And this breath that happens with or without us paying attention nourishes, both brings in needed oxygen and also acts as a place that we can release, excrete things that no longer serve. So I'm going to invite you just to, with your 5 senses, notice. Maybe your eyes are closed, maybe you have a soft gaze. What are you seeing in your mind's eye? How about the sound? What do you hear? What do you feel against your skin? Your clothes, what you're sitting on, your feet on the floor. Maybe there's a taste. I'm still sipping on my Earl Grey breakfast tea this morning. I can taste a bit in my mouth. And maybe there's a smell. A smell of springtime. Smell of the drums that were drumming a few minutes ago. And finally, I invite you to scan your own body from head to toe. And just soften and relax any part of your body that feels like it could use a little extra attention. Relax your forehead, your tongue, your shoulders. Your belly, your back, hips, legs. So it is our intention today to connect fully with our own nature, our own true nature, the divine within, and to connect in community. The light in me sees the light in you. So when you're ready, I invite you once again to find your breath. And when you're ready, maybe you want to wiggle your fingers and toes and stretch a bit. And hopefully we didn't lose anybody to sleep. It's so early in the morning. The energy in this room is shifted in the last few minutes to your presence and your intention to be present. Thank you. All right, oops. Let's go this way. So I'm going to read a little bit here and there from my book today. But we'll start off by talking about personal intentions. My first career, I was a pharmacist. I still am technically a pharmacist, but I've kind of expanded. I don't know, I remember a priest once telling me, oh, you're one of those expanded Catholics, you know. So I sort of consider myself as a metaphysical scientist and an alchemist and expanded pharmacist too. But here was an observation about intention. The process of being human is amazing and complex. So why do people having a similar experience react so differently? Some people are resilient, happy, and satisfied, and live from their strengths, passions, and gifts, while other people with very comparable circumstances are miserable and think of themselves as a victim. The unseen world of beliefs, intentions, and thoughts have provided influence on the small decisions we all make every day. I remember 2 people coming in with a similar diagnosis my second year of being a pharmacist, and one of them died in 4 months, and the other was still alive when I left 10 years later. And I really dug more deeply into the connection between our minds and our intentions and the physical conditions we live in. So it's a magic combination. Where is our attention? And the cool thing is, we can do the meditation that we just did, the guided meditation about bringing our attention into our body. But that same process of intending is true in our multidimensional body, right? Where we access our intuition, where we connect to the quantum field, where we receive and ask questions and gain wisdom. So it's a combination of all of these pieces, recognizing that we are the driver. We're the one intending. Bless you. And multiple levels of consciousness. So this is a wellness wheel, one of the things we work with in health coaching. Where I teach at the Center for Spirituality and Healing at the university in their health coaching program. I was having a conversation with Lynette earlier. I teach the business class, because we need to be of service in the world. It's not an either or. But think about I'm going to give you a little bit of time shortly to think about your personal intention. These are some categories you might want to consider. How are you doing in fun and recreation? How about a significant other or relationships in general? Friends and family? Finance? Money is just the flow of energy. Are you good at receiving? How about your health? Physical health, mental health, emotional health? How about your environment? Are there things you'd like to change in the space you live in, space you look at, work in? How often do you get outside and get rid of all of those, ions and reset yourself? What intentions do you have for your personal growth? I'm going to assume all of us in this room have a pretty high intention on that, expanding our awareness and consciousness. And how about career, business, contribution, service? So again, if any of those resonate with you, just take note, and we'll have, like I said, time to reflect a bit more. So we know that our manifestation, our ability to be in the world, follows our intention. So what we focus on grows. And that's actually true in not only our small choices we make every day, but it's actually physically true in our brains, in our nervous system. So we are shifting our perspective on the mind, body, and emotions as we discover more about how interconnected they are. It is common for us to consider them separately, but now we understand these components are part of an ever-changing system, complex, interrelated. The health of our cells is directly influenced by our thoughts and feelings and intentions we experience moment to moment. So when we're stressed, we produce a lot of chemicals that literally go to the bottom of our DNA, our telomeres, and eat them away. They kind of erode them, right? The cortisol, the adrenaline. And when we relax and are in connection, we actually produce chemicals that are protective, right? Oxytocin, endorphins, and nourish us. So there's this process of neurogenesis. We're constantly producing new nerve cells, and we're also neuroplasticity, we're always producing new connections. So what are you intending? If we're on fight and flight, right? Protect and defend, amygdala hijack, dumping all these chemicals, we literally shut off access to our prefrontal cortex, where our executive functioning happens. So how do you intend to live your days, your minutes? With full access? That's the goal, I think. And it's different for each of us. This doesn't mean, spending 3 hours a day on your cushion necessarily, right? It might mean getting in someone's face about something. I've been invited last fall. We have a new paper, the Southwest Connector. I don't know if you're familiar with that, here in Southwest Minneapolis, and Tesha Christensen, I think, is the woman's name who purchased the paper and got it started. And she's asked me to write a column once a month on holistic well-being. And I wrote, the last month was on courageous conversations. So sometimes ferociousness, right, is the highest optimal choice in the moment. So it doesn't mean like being a calm zombie. It means being authentic in the moment and letting the full spectrum of possibilities, from taking a deep breath and walking away, right, to really challenging. Of course, challenging where we both count, but we're getting to that part. What gets in our way? Right? What are your barriers to living intentionally? What are the hiccups or habits that happen for you when you get in that space? Here's some ideas around that. First of all, this process of becoming, transformation, it's messy. Have you noticed? It's not a straight line. We hold an intention for I call it the end of the timeline, right? To be my full blossomed self. Dandelion seed, rosebud, acorn, whatever it is that we come in with our divine blueprint. But the goal is to totally blossom. And it's messy, and it can be unclear and uncomfortable. So we can get fixated, right, on one thing. I'm gonna do this one thing, and then I'm going to arrive. It really doesn't work like that. We can get lost. So we can get caught in judgment, excessive rumination, negative thinking, self-talk, dysfunctional beliefs. So just so we are clear that no matter what our intention is, and by the way, of course we all know this, it's a spiral, the growth and development. So I don't know about you, but about every predictably, 7 minutes, 7 months, I hit that same doggone issue I was working on about, right? And it's more subtle this time. I'm catching my ego, right? I'm catching my judgment. But be patient, because transformation, the only way it happens is with intentional choice. To be brave, to be honest, no matter what. We don't have to be in anyone's face. Ella and I were talking about how do we be true to ourselves and use language with others that's accessible, right? So I don't know, I kind of feel like I've spent my whole life from a spiritual development perspective learning lots of languages. So no matter who I'm talking to, if you're a neuroscience geek, I can talk to you about that. If you're in business, we can talk about resilience and shame, right? If you're in a Sufi person, I can, hold my own with an Enneagram conversation. But that's part of the being true to ourselves and not stuffing it. It takes intentional choice. So it's not just what we look at, it's the glasses that we wear that we're really constantly shifting, noticing. One of my favorite images, I'm kind of a metaphor person, that I really got this. Someone gave me the visual of, as human beings, we're sitting around a table, a boardroom table, and there's a white egg in the middle of the table, and we all have glasses on, and they're all a different color. And we spend our whole life trying to explain and convince somebody else that it really is yellow, right? And they're like, but it's really red. So it's looking at the glasses that are yellow. Or, any other number of things we insist are the truth. That's our job. So we want to hold nothing back. We want to fully blossom. Mark Nepo is such a great poet. I don't know if any of you read him. He has an eloquence I really enjoy. So it's our goal to live 1,000 years, not in succession, but in every breath. So So one of the ways that's supportive for us is to practice. So what are some of the ways that you practice? What are some of the transformational practices that you use to help you stay centered and authentic? This is the part where you talk. Meditation. What else?
For me, it's affirmation.
Affirmations. Love it. Perfect. Nature. Connection. Being out in nature is such an amazing and pretty easy, you know? Music. Music is one of those things where you can use it no matter where you are. It can help move you into a more empowered place. You can use it to calm down. You can use it to, I did some teaching of mind-body skills to preschoolers, and we said, get your wiggles out, you know, doing a little housework.
Trying to figure out what I truly want.
Say again.
Really trying to decide what I truly want.
Excellent. So you're giving us the two-part thing. First, you have to know what you want, and that requires some unleveling of the onion peel, right? What does society say I want? What does my boss think I want, right? Who am I, and what is my deepest desire? And then, what are my actions every day that support that? And again, you're really inviting all of us, all these practices, to be very empowered and not give our power away to, well, you know, when I was 5 and that teacher and I've just never been able to get over it, and or that I just need to be like this even if it's inauthentic to get along. Great pieces. So here's a bit more on transformative practices. They quiet the mind-body, heal old wounds, shed false beliefs, cultivate intention and attention, promote insight, and expand our capacity. The heart of these practices is their ability to bring you into direct contact with the numinous. Open your eyes and heart to the sanctity of life. They assist you in realizing the abundant, ever-present, and surprisingly accessible deep meaning that is present in every moment of every day. So they're worth cultivating. Have a few in your toolbox. So I want you to spend a couple minutes just reflecting on your own personal intentions. If you were to come to some of your own self-knowing, what would be those next steps for you? So just take a minute and think about what kind of commitment are you willing to make to yourself? So in a little bit, we'll share some of these with each other.
Taking steps to really get where I want to go.
Perfect. The commitment to yourself to really take the action. As a transformational coach, that makes my little heart very happy. And it always has to start with the idea and the planning, but the action counts. Anyone else want to share anything? Yeah.
Place me in situations that will allow me to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Placing myself in situations that allow me to grow, to learn, to share.
Thank you. It does really matter. I mean, there are certainly circumstances that we're in that feel like they challenge us and, really are more oppressive. And the intention that you have to be in community with and in places to grow, great. I'll read a poem and we'll talk about interpersonal intentions. Thank you all. This is from Lao Tzu. He's a 13th century Tao Te Ching writer. Actually, before that, 6th century BC, Chinese philosopher. Always we hope someone else has the answer, some other place will be better, and some other time it will all turn out. This is it. No one else has the answer, and no other place will be better, and it has already turned out. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are. You know what you want. There's no need to run outside for better seeing, or to peer from a window. Rather, abide at the center of your being, for the more you leave it, the less you learn. Search your heart and see the way to do is to be. Isn't that neat? Neat intentions. All right. So what about this interpersonal stuff? Are you familiar with the concept of mirror neurons? How we connect with each other? There's a research project from Lynn McTaggart. Are you familiar with her work? She's a meta science gatherer. She wrote a book called The Field. And in this book, they did a research in 1988. 40 healers from a multiple number of traditions were given a task to hold healing intentions towards a particular person suffering from AIDS. The physicians and caregivers were involved. The patients knew they were either being intentionally prayed for, healing on, or they decided not to. It was a double-blinded study. And they kept notes on the progress, on T cells, B cells, death even. And over the course of time, in this non-local way with mirror neurons and holding intention, in the original group of people that were being prayed for, there were 0 deaths after 2 years. And in the other group of, I think it was 18, there were 6 deaths. So this understanding that we have, it's a fascinating book, and she has many studies. That's one that I picked out and put in my book. Understand that we are interconnected, right? And it's important, our intention for another person. So in your world, how do you know, right, that you've had impact? One of the ways is through conversation. There's a whole field of study on conversational intelligence. Essentially what that's about is I count and you count, and we may be on opposite sides of the political spectrum, on opposite sides of the, pick your spectrum. But I want to engage with like-minded and not like-minded people, to continue learning, to understand. So here's some tips, some practical tips on your own relationship. Use nonverbal communication to set a tone. Notice your own inner state of awareness. If it's dysregulated, will be a very loud impact in the conversation. Again, that prefrontal cortex, when we are calm, when we are vibrating at a high frequency, we literally activate someone else's nervous system. So you be the one in charge. Don't let the chaos be in charge, or another person's chaos, or over-arousal. We want to build trust versus the distrust. When we're on fight and flight, we're on protect and defend. I like this conversation so much that I've made business cards that I hand out to my clients about tools for authentic listening and speaking. It's based on nonviolent communication. But when you're really deeply listening and the other person calls, suspend your speaking. Ask more questions. Ask for clarity. Did I get that right? Is there another time? Right? had a conversation with my now husband. We were living together, and he was having a fit one day, probably about a lot of things, but on the back of the bathroom, there's some little racks where the towels get hung. And when they're wet and you open the door all the way, the paint was starting to peel. I hadn't noticed. He noticed. It's like, so about this opening the door all the way. I'm like, oh my word, I'm sorry, I didn't, So then I was like, having my thing, and what's my next thing? Well, what about the time when you always put your socks on the floor? Right now we're off and running. Nobody's listening. But I practice this stuff, so I practiced with him. I said, I hadn't really noticed. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest while you've got the floor? Right, mirroring. Well, as a matter of fact, I like it to rinse down the shower after every time and put the little tile stuff on. And I'm like, okay, we're still in the bathroom. I don't know how long. Anyway, and so I continued. I said, anything more? He said, no. So I summarized, I validated. He has a valid point. Thank you for being honest. I appreciate it. And that evening, we were having some people over, we have this great deck, having a little deck party. And so all night long, of course, we took showers 4 minutes before anyone comes. So the towels are wet all night long and keep moving. And so the next day, he's like, I think we need a different solution. I said, so what are you thinking? He's like, I think that we're going to hang our bathrobes on the back of the door, and I'm going to hang a new towel rack. That's what happened. But partly because I could listen, right? And partly for him, that he could speak in this way. Here's what I experienced. Here's the impact and feelings. Here's what I need, right? If you're interested in more on these or the cards, there's a chapter in my book actually on communication, but I have a sign-up sheet out here. If you're interested in having some follow-up, I'm happy to send you a couple of these cards and a chapter on them, and be part of my newsletter as well. So I'm just going to give again another minute here in your own relationships as you reflect on it. Are there areas that you want to intentionally work on, play with? So we're going to look here at the interpersonal, at the collective, and then I'm going to give you a minute or 2 or 3 to find another couple people and chat a bit. And if we have time, we'll do a loving kindness meditation. So the collective. This is a model I use in coaching and living and in my book, but it talks about the invitation to expand our consciousness from understanding ourself as simply ending at the end of our skin, to being interconnected, to being connected to the infinite and allowing that to move through us. We are collectively on this big evolutionary shift. So here's some of my intention for us collectively. Here's what I call the old era qualities, right? Dominance, entitlement, greed, polarization. And what are we moving to? What's your intention? What does your vision for the collective look like? And through these words, it helps me remember my commitment, personally, interpersonally, and professionally or collectively. We all know that there is this force that connects all of us. Alice Gray's paintings are some of my favorite. So what qualities are unique to you that you bring? I think about the Enneagram and Myers-Briggs and Strength Finder and, right, all those cool things that we use for self-discovery. Own it. Own your own unique gifts, and please share them. No matter where you are. The grocery store, talking to your little niece, having hard conversations with your neighbors. So what are some of your intentions, right? Around that, around the collective. So even though Ella's not really in the mood today, I am going to ask you to find 2 other people, preferably that you don't know, introduce yourself, and share what you want. Speak out loud, be a witness, and be witnessed of what is touching your heart today. What kind of commitment do you want to make around your own intentions? Okay? So we'll stand up if you want, find 2 other people. We'll, do about 4 minutes. Be sure everybody gets a chance to talk. Yes, so Ella said, so please share anything that's come up for personal, interpersonal, or collective intentions. And those of you at home that might be listening to this, I invite you to do the same. Grab someone else if they're available, or really take a few minutes here to write down some of your intentions. Take another minute to finish up. So when you're ready, we'll return to our spots and wrap up for today. All right, we've just got a couple minutes here, so we'll was it good? Good. Fun to connect, isn't it? A little bit one-on-one. It's okay for you too? Great. So this is available. If you're interested, I have a few books for sale out there afterwards. I'm going to hang around if anyone has any deeper questions you want to ask, but that's contact information. I've got some business cards too. I'd love to stay in touch. Any questions here in our last couple minutes? Thoughts, questions? Not really?
We're still processing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I've really appreciated the engagement today. Thank you for smiling and nodding your heads and saying, yeah, I can relate to what you're talking about. It's so fun to see you connect in your small groups. Community, my own mission these days is building capacity, community, and connection. And that's what I say yes to, and things that aren't in alignment with that, I let go and have somebody else have that opportunity. So learn your own intention. Where are your guiding values? What is your service in the world? How do you want to impact? Mostly it's through our presence, literally. I'm a big Dave Hawkins, power versus force guy, right? What is the level of consciousness we're living at? What is our presence? That's the real place of transformation. And the more of us that are able to hold our frequency and invite others to attune, the more impact we can have. So I appreciate some time today to sit with yourself, with each other, to get a little deeper, maybe insight into your own intentions. I appreciate the opportunity, Ella.
Thank you, Michele. I always get some nugget out of every single talk, even though I don't think I'll get anything, but I usually do. So today, thank you for the reminders about authentic listening. There's some conversations that happened this weekend with family members I'm replaying now, and the next time we have those conversations, how they might turn out to be a little bit more productive. So, all right, thank you. Well, as you know, Lake Heritage Spiritual Community is solely funded by donations. We don't have any other source of income, so now is the time that we'll pass the basket and ask that you donate if you can. Also, if you'd like to set up regular donations, you can do that through our website, through PayPal. So consider that as well. So we can keep the doors open, the lights on, and keep interesting speakers coming. So thank you.
I'm gonna let it shine. All in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. All in my room, I'm gonna let it shine. Shine. The road is dark, the way was long. Kept on singing that freedom song. My God promised me a rainbow sign. Just gotta let my little light shine. Don't give up, don't back down. Don't let the liar turn you around. My heart's fixed, made up in mine. I'm going out and letting my little little light shine. Sure gonna let my little light shine. All in the streets, I'm gonna let it shine. On the battlefield, I'm gonna let it shine. See, now I ain't gonna fight no rich man's war. That ain't what God's gonna use me for. Killing folk ain't in my line. Sure ain't no way to let my little light shine. Shine on me, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. You can't fool all the people all the time. Get together, let our little light shine.
Who is that, Gary?
Let it shine. Let it shine.
The Staples?
Let it shine.
Mavis. Wow. Didn't recognize her voice. I love the Staple singers. Thank you for that. So if you would join me in blessing the offering and repeat after me. Perfect love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Blessed be. All right. So as our tradition after the services is that we circle up. I think we've got enough to just circle around the middle section here. And then Michele will lead us in a final closing, send us off on our way.
I took my hat off. Okay. Okay. Do it. She's coming over. She's coming. Hey. I'm sorry. I took my little hat part off. I should have left it on. Okay. So let's do a little energizing our intentions, shall we? We'll take a deep breath in and out and feel the gratitude flowing from hand to hand, heart to heart. And in loving kindness, may I be full of peace. May I be protected and safe. May I live my most empowered life. And may my presence ripple out in my relationships, in my community, in my country, on this planet. And may I be filled with loving kindness. Thank you all very much.